separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports in high school.
Welcome to the Orange is the New Black podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
What's up? Is this thing on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, world. How's everybody doing this evening? Let's get it on, man. What we talking about this evening? What's up, Bengals fans? What's up, Die Hard? All you passionate people that came to talk about some football on a Thursday evening, this is for you.
Nah, that's facts. So we're here to talk about the Bengals' upcoming matchup versus the Washington football team. Kind of previewing it. It's the return to William Jackson III in a sense. We're going against our former Bengals player. There was some other somewhat related Bengals news today. Prayers go out to Carl Lawson for going down with an Achilles injury, so prayers go out to him. But this is going to be a good matchup, especially for some of the players that are currently on the team, because we're trying to get a lot of things hashed out. You talk about Darius Hodge. He's coming off of a 2-sack performance last game. We talk about your man, the wide receiver. His name escapes me right now. He's hot right now. Everybody's talking about him. Trenton Irwin. Trenton Irwin, this is an important game for him. It's an important game for the running backs. And, you know, it's an important game for the Cincinnati Bengals. But kicking things off, like after the first game that we had in Tampa, and now we've had some practices and things have happened. One thing that stood out to me this week that I'm somewhat disappointed with is the fact that Deontay Smith, I don't know if it's been official yet as we're recording this Thursday night, Deontay Smith likely may miss this game with a dehydration issue. How does that make you feel about the optics for the offensive line?
I mean, it puts some people on notice that maybe, you know, on the next man up type of deal, but it does hurt because that's a guy that you want to see get as many reps as possible to see, like, does he have what it takes to do this and possibly be ready for week one. So that's a tough blow. I'm glad it's not something serious. Like you alluded to the Carl Lawson stuff that we heard earlier, that really like bummed me out because, you know, like outside of football, like that's just a good guy. And I know he was working his tail off. So really, really, really tough that he has that. But hopefully the good side out of this is that Jackson Carman gets more reps. Also, Fred Johnson is now, you know, healthy enough to play as well. So maybe we can see what he does, especially in that swing tackle role. I want to see them give him a lot of reps as well, too, because a lot of us have been saying, hey, they need to get more depth. I've saw we can get to the defense later. They brought in one guy earlier today for a workout. But aside from that, I mean, but he's not offensive line, you know. So some of the things that we were talking about, like it's looking very similar to last year a little bit, and I don't like that. And Deontay Smith was one of the bright spots.
Yeah, Deontay Smith was definitely one of the big bright spots for the Bengals, especially with him possibly getting reps at the right guard position. They talked about him starting off at the left tackle position, then getting some reps at left guard. I was looking forward to him getting some reps at right guard, especially against the Washington football team. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But as you mentioned, they did have a visit today with Noah Spence, who is very interesting because the former Ohio State player, he started off at Ohio State, transferred, used to play with, I believe, Joey Bosa. So that was interesting to see that they are looking at another edge rusher. That almost makes me wonder, you know, what the news on Osai is going to be if they are considering bringing him in. But that's interesting. Like you said, you would think that they would look for some kind of help on the offensive line. They seem to be set there. So as far as what I'm looking for from this offensive line is, you know, how do those guys outside of that Deontay Smith play? Obviously, they're bringing in Fred Johnson, who's going to be making his debut, our boy over there. So I think that he's going to do his thing at the right tackle position. So I'm excited to definitely see Fred get in there and get physical. And that's just been what everybody's been referring to this offensive line as, is physical. And I remember watching last year when we played the Browns. I watched it with Coach on the replay, and I was like, the one thing that the Browns offensive line did was what the Bengals are looking to do this year, which is playing nasty, like playing with that tenacity, Jonah getting out in space and pushing over small DBs and stuff like that. And we saw a lot of that. They set the tone in the Tampa game. So this is honestly, and you know as you live in the area, this is probably the best defensive line in football. So there is no bigger litmus test, I think, than this one that we have on Friday to see, can Mike Jordan go back into that environment and line up against the same guy that beat him last year or last season? And can they get punched in the mouth or punch them in the mouth? That's one of the things that I'm looking for to see. Obviously, they have Chase Young as well. So I'd like to see how they hold up against this defensive line in Washington.
Yeah, I think for any offensive coordinator, any offensive line coach such as Frank Pollack, this is the big measuring stick to see like where your guys are at, because even in the second tier of defensive linemen from the Washington football team, like it's top tier athletes. And, I don't think anyone's thinking much about, this is where Joe got hurt at. And I've seen Fred even make some comments to say, like that really sticks with us. So I'm thinking that they're going to try to go out and play as hard as they can. But this is the true testament of, can you block in the NFL? Because we saw a buzzsaw of teams last year that we went into the gauntlet with, like the Eagles, the Steelers, and then the Washington football team. Those are three of the best defensive fronts in all of football. So this is the test. This is what we're gonna see. I mean, I went back, I watched some of the stuff from Jackson Carman. Like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The first time I saw it, it really wasn't. He just was getting out and trying to jump out. Like, people been running a clip of this Bobby Hart. I don't know if you guys have seen Bob Hart, but he tries to do like a jump set on a guy. I don't even know who that's up against, but he looks really, really bad. But it's really hard to recover from doing a jump set like that. And you can't do that from the elite, defensive lineman in the National Football League. So looking for, I really want to see a lot of Carmen. I want to see, like, is Xavier Su'a-Filo going to step up and do anything to like make it worth his while? Because to pay a guy $4 million to be on the bench is just not even worth it. That's another reason why they got to look for depth. So those are the things that I think every Bengals fan, I think for the, for this year especially, it's in the trenches more than ever. Even on the defensive line, I don't remember a year where our fan base has been looking at the trenches this hard. Before then it was, linebacker. At one point it was tight end, and now here we are with, like, everybody's got their eyes glued to it, including me.
No, that's facts. I mean, Julian Okwara was the guy that beat him, because I made the mistake. My man Khalid Kareem, I made the mistake of hopping out there on Twitter, kind of trying to make fun of the Bobby Hart situation, saying that he getting worked by backups. And Khalid told me, like, nah, that's Julian Okwara. I think he was drafted by them in the 3rd round last year. He said that he was really a 1st-round talent. So, yeah, Bobby did get beat on that play, but back to some of our current Bengals. Go ahead.
What's so crazy about the Julian Okwara? Like, that was one of the guys that I was really looking at. It kind of reminds me, like, on tape, kind of like when I added you in that post the other day with JOK.
Right.
He kind of reminds me of that. It's like this guy that you just see, like, bursting, like everything he does is like full force, you're going crazy, athleticism off the charts, but for some reason drops a little bit lower than what everybody thinks, and it really blew my mind. He really looked kind of like what's your guy that everybody wanted? I feel like that was the first Civil War. Is the linebacker that went out the league and he was playing with the Washington football team?
Reuben Foster.
Yeah. Reuben Foster. I swear to goodness, that was the guy. That was our. I think that was the very first Civil War. It's like Reuben Foster.
First Civil War. Yeah.
Reuben Foster versus that, and I really, like, there's a lot of guys as you guys know, well documented. John Ross, that I really, really wanted, but Reuben Foster was not a guy that I wanted. I don't know. But sorry, I got off topic.
Nah, you good. So that brings up, some of the battles and some of the things that I want to see at least next game. Obviously, this will be a game where you would think the starters will play more than a series, right? So I would like to see how the secondary does against some of those receivers for Washington. Terry McLaurin, I assume he's going to play. Definitely want to see how Cheeto does. If Trey Waynes is going to play, would definitely love to see him. Definitely have to see how the linebackers are going to react. And I think for the most part, unfortunately, Trevion Williams is falling behind in this running back race, and I think he's also going to be out because he's got the hamstring injury. Our man Khalid Kareem is going to be out with a potential injury as well. So it's time for certain guys to step up. A guy that we haven't heard much of that a lot of people are talking about in the comments is Puka. We didn't really get to see much from Puka. Hopefully we can see him do something.
It's going to be tough for him, man.
Looking tough.
It's tough with a crowded that with guys like Trenton Irwin stepping up, and then you got Trent Taylor. Am I saying his name? Okay. Yeah. So Trent Taylor, you got those guys sitting there in their wing. Mind you, Puka, they've already decided, the staff has decided that he's not going to be a running back. So he's got to make it as a wide receiver. And can you contribute on special teams? If he can't return, I think they're still looking for a gunner because Stanley Morgan is probably on the outside looking in a little bit now. But they still are looking for a gunner. But with Puka's size, you're not going to get a gunner like, a guy running down and tackling at that size. So it's going to be really tough for him. The bigger matchups, I feel like, that are going to really go down to the wire is at tight end. Because I think any of those guys get released, they're not going to make the practice squad, maybe with the exception of maybe Mason Schreck. But with the camp that Moss has had, I just don't see him saying like somebody's going to pick him up. I even saw a tight end. I was trying to think who that was earlier. I think it was the Vikings or something, but their tight end went down or he's believed to be out a couple of weeks. So, like there are teams just waiting for you to drop like a Moss if he can't beat out. So,
yeah, I think Thad Moss is going to make it. I know he had a catch in the game last week. He brings something different to the table. Drew Sample didn't play too many snaps, so I can't really jump on Drew Sample for last week's game, but would definitely like to see more from Thad Moss. And Mitchell Wilcox is a guy that definitely flashed at some points, and I was a fan of his as him being an undrafted free agent. But now you guys can finally stop asking me to do Pro Wells videos. Pro Wells cut earlier. Like Zim said, that's another battle that we're gonna be tuned in for.
You talked about Awuzie in this sentence, and I kind of veered off a little bit. But how about the camp that Awuzie had? I texted you the other night. I said, I don't know if it's because we had a stream of of cornerbacks that got to this point where they gave up bigger plays, and we kind of were holding on to William Jackson, like, no, like and I don't remember. I remember William Jackson looking really, really good at camp, and I remember him making a lot of different plays. And I don't know who's better. Only time will tell that. But to get Awuzie at the price point that they got him, and he's matching up with your best wide receivers, with arguably a top 5, top 3 wide receiver core in the National Football, and held his own. Aside from him and Evan McPherson, you probably be looking at those as the 2 guys that might be camp MVPs if you want to take away, I guess, Joe Burrow, coming back and making like a comeback in the last 4 or 5 practices. But I mean, Awuzie every single day of camp, like you can get the best of them because, it's just a numbers game. But the dude's been balling like crazy. So you were talking about the wide receivers. I cannot wait to see him go up possibly against somebody like Dynamic Brown. Like you named some wide receivers earlier. I was waiting for you to say Dynamic Brown because I don't know if you guys remember, there was a period where Bengals were looking at Dynamic Brown because we were scared that if you go to Penei Sewell route, the Dynamic Browns of the world are around second round. You're also going to get a good look at Sam Cosmi, a guy that I damn near stood on the table for. So to see him go up against our number ones, whoa, those are the matchups that I'm really, really looking for. Somebody in the crowd said, "Hey, what's up, Zim? Are you going to be out there tomorrow night?" You're damn right I'm going to be out there, and I'm going to be checking out. Those are the different matchups that I'm going to be looking for. So if you guys check in for me, I'll be on the Bengals side at the 50-yard line.
Facts. We got a super chat here from our man DJ Mister. He says, "What's up, Ace and Zim?" He said the Jordan and Pippen dynamic duo. At the end of the day, does Trevion Williams make the team even if he doesn't play at all? And would you play Joe Burrow at all this preseason? I'm gonna say I don't think he does because Jacquez had a good showing last week. It sucks because Trevion was also somebody, like as Zim said, we talked about guys flashing in practice. I believe the first practice Trevion flashed and had a nice run, but I don't think if he doesn't play, with this being his third, fourth year, like I don't know if it would go down like that. They might try to keep him on the practice squad, but he is a talented back. I'm not sure how that would go. I know me and Zim kind of, I don't know, Zim might have come around on this. Are you going to play Joe Burrow in the preseason, Zim? What you going to do?
First, let me talk about the first one. There's no way it's no way that Bengals carry more than 3 running backs on game day. And I think with Chris Evans' performance in the last game, there's no way that you can justify not getting the guy out on the field. And I feel like the coaches have made a lot of good statements about him and his pass protection early on. If you guys don't know, check out our interview we had with Chris Evans. One of the things that I told him, Ace told him he runs like Reggie Bush, which he does. And I also told him, like, hey, just one thing, make sure your pass protection is good. I know he probably was like, shut up, you don't know anything about it. I'm in the NFL, you aren't. But it's good to know that he actually is doing really, really good at that regard. So those are your 3. Keeping those guys healthy. I want to see limited action with him. To have Jacquez Patrick step up like that and run that hard, I think you're going to see a heavy dose of him in game 2 and game 3 of this preseason. But he's a candidate that I think he'll clear waivers and he'll go to the practice squad as well. And that's a guy, him and Travion Williams. But, you never know what happens. The next part of your question is, do I think Joe Burrow should play in the preseason? Based off of what I've seen in the last practice, 100% healthy. Joe comes out to the podium yesterday. He says that, like he's finally got his mojo back. He's got his swagger back. I think the players on the team are kind of motioning for him to get out there and just get a couple of reps out there. I'm okay. It wouldn't be Washington football team. Not happening. Not a chance. But if they were going to do it, I'm okay with 8 snaps against the Dolphins. You can control the plays. It's at home. You're controlling the environment. All these different things that I think will go in his favor. Are you still in the same ballpark where I forget your stance. My
stance was always that I just wanted him to at least get one series, like in the preseason. It didn't matter where he got it at, but at least just give him like a series.
So you want to give him one series against Chase?
Against Washington. No. Bro, not against Washington. But
all the respect in the world, boy. There's some savages over
the third game is perfect because
super savage.
Most teams aren't going to be playing their starters. So if you were to throw Joe in against some future construction workers, that would be the best opportunity to do it in the Miami game. But yeah, I would only play him in the Miami game, a series, and that's all I need to see. Just a series to let him go out there, be out there again, obviously protect him. And yeah, that's all I would do. One series, and that would be it.
Sample, somebody said, man, Sample is just strictly for blocking. Don't sleep. Sample got a little bit in him. I mean, I think we saw enough of him last year where I think Sample showed us that he's capable of catching a football, right? And he's capable of running and he's smart enough to be in the right place at the right time. But the one thing that I think that's also happened in camp, and maybe it hasn't conveyed in the first preseason game, but even in camp, who's Joe Burrow's first deep ball gone to? The most successful deep ball recorded on that I've seen on any camp highlight is CJ Uzomah. Who was Burrow's, early target last year. So like that's one of the guys that, you don't have to have a Sample be like this big second round thing. If CJ Uzomah is ready and stepping right back up in it and has Sample as an insurance package, and then when you go into your 12 personnel, and then maybe you do some stuff and you do unique things, that you got an elite blocking tight end that's already been groomed in your system. He's always going to get questioned for that pick at that spot. But I don't think anybody's ever going to look back and say that guy's not a football player. No, I think people will argue about where you get drafted. You can do that for a lot of people, but it is what it is.
Nah, it is what it is. Shout out to my man Nandon holding it down. He says that he's got for the running backs, Joe Mixon, Chris Evans, and Jacquez. Got to throw Samaje Perine in there, especially with them giving him that contract. He's definitely a lock to make the roster. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is obviously we did say that we will be going back to a schedule where we have more than one show a week. We might try to get something in. I know depending on how things go with Zim at the game, we're going to try to get some instant reactions, but that may start during the season. So we probably just be on the lookout. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to Zim's Houday channel or Zim Houday. Zim Houday's channel at Zim Houday on YouTube and mine at New Stripe City. That way you guys get notified whenever we go live because you never know. And then also be sure to follow him on IG because we're going to be going live, I think, sometime this weekend on his IG as well to recap the game. And then we also may be going live on Twitter as well. So we're looking into that as well. So follow Zim at Zim Houday and follow me at New Stripe City on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we get out?
No, I didn't have much. I just wanted to I think it was a good idea. You have a good preview of what we got going on, with this Washington football team. I want to remind people because someone hit me last night and said, man, I'm trying to get with you guys at that Jaguars game. I had to call the Bengals yesterday because the section sold out. I had to call our PR contact and the person that has put us together. Shout out to Miss Parker. Has put us together with this whole unique package where we're doing this with fans. And I said, hey, you got to get some more seats in our section. So I think they opened it up, but it's not that many. But as of yesterday, they sold out the whole entire section. And so then they because I saw it, somebody hit me and said, my man Davis Martin said, man, it's only 2 seats left, but it won't let me just buy one. It's making me buy 2. 10 minutes later, the seats was gone. Called them. Now they're like, we shifted some stuff around, and now it's a couple seats in there. So if you guys haven't seen that link, Ace will have that link in the YouTube, in his YouTube that we're going to post on this video, and then I'm gonna also have a link that I'll probably put on my story on Instagram again today. But I'm pretty hyped because, like I said, you going to the game last week, you seeing people with the shirt on, and a lot of people have been kind of saying, man, like I'm ready, the energy is like real. And the one message I want to tell people is that I feel like me and Ace are here in this regard. There's a lot of Bengals fans that are older that probably been like, man, I wish I had y'all enthusiasm, like moving forward and, in this Bengals Houday thing. But throughout the years, I kind of lost it. And I feel like we're here now to channel that same energy, and I got a lot of it, and we're ready to, put it out there in the atmosphere and go cheer for this team and give you guys the facts. That doesn't mean that we're always going to be positive on them, but we're going to be passionate about what we do. And then, that carries on to the Barrel babies behind us or whatever when I get old. So I just want to thank everybody for sticking with us and sticking with the team, more importantly. But make sure you guys support us in every way that you can. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube and his YouTube, like Ace has said, then do so. Please send us questions and stuff. If you got anything that you want to talk about, let's put it on the next show. But we're going to come back and do some real cool stuff on the channel and throughout, like Ace just said.
No, that's fact. So appreciate you guys for turning in. And as usual, I end this with a yes.
Sirski.
Hello, world. What separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is callers never beat